Christmas Eve, 1945. A time for joy, a time for family. But for the Sodder family of Fayetteville, West Virginia, this night would become the darkest chapter in American history's unsolved files. 5 children, Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jenny, and Betty, ages 5 to 14. They went to sleep in their second-floor rooms, tucked in for Christmas morning. But before the sun could rise, a house fire tore through their home. George and Jenny Sodder escaped with 4 of their 10 children. They frantically called out to the 5 upstairs. They saw the flames. They heard nothing. They were told the fire had consumed them, reduced them to ash. But as the smoke cleared on that freezing Christmas morning, one terrifying fact remained. There were no bodies, no remains, just a perfectly clean, fire-scorched basement. Where did 5 children go? And why did no one else ask that question for decades? The Sodder family was one of West Virginia's success stories. George Sodder, an Italian immigrant who'd built a prosperous trucking company, lived a comfortable life with his wife, Jenny, and their 10 children. The atmosphere in their 2-story timber frame house on Christmas Eve was one of festive anticipation. Jenny allowed 5 of the younger children to stay up later than usual playing with new toys. Around 12:30 a.m., an inexplicable event occurred. The phone rang. Jenny answered it. On the other end, an unfamiliar woman asked for a name Jenny didn't recognize, accompanied by what she recalled as weird laughter and the distant clinking of glasses. Wrong number. Jenny hung up, noted that Marion, her oldest daughter, was asleep on the living room couch, and returned to bed. She was asleep for maybe half an hour. Then a sound like a physical object hitting the roof. A loud, solid thud, followed by a rolling noise. Jenny drifted back to sleep. It was the smell that finally woke her. Thick, suffocating smoke pouring into their bedroom. George and Jenny woke their oldest sons and fled the home with 4 children. The 2 eldest boys, the oldest daughter, Marion, and their youngest, 2-year-old, Sylvia. The 5 missing children, Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jenny, and Betty, were asleep in the attic bedrooms, accessible by a central staircase. But the staircase was already engulfed in flames. George, frantic, ran back outside. He knew his extension ladder was always propped against the house. It was gone, nowhere to be found. He rushed to his coal trucks, vehicles he'd used just hours before. He planned to use them to climb to the attic windows. He tried to start them. Neither truck would start. Their engines, which had run perfectly the day before, were dead. A water barrel that might have helped extinguish the fire, frozen solid. Every desperate attempt to reach the children was thwarted by a series of impossible mechanical and logistical failures. The father could only stand, screaming the names of his children as the house burned to the ground. The Fayetteville Fire Department's response was delayed and slow. A neighbor who tried to call for help couldn't get an operator. It took someone driving into town to find the fire chief, F.J. Morris, in person. By the time they arrived, the house was a cinder pile. The official conclusion was quick. The fire was an electrical accident, and the 5 children had perished in the blaze. But this is where the conventional narrative dies. A fire that, hot enough to incinerate 5 human bodies, would leave bone fragments, a skull, a spine, a tooth, something. Yet a day of sifting through the rubble yielded nothing, not a single fragment of bone or tissue. Fire Chief Morris later suggested the blaze had been so intense it had completely cremated the remains. However, Jenny Sodder conducted her own tests, burning animal bones in her stove. Every time, identifiable bones remained. Furthermore, household objects like mattresses and appliances were later identified in the rubble. If mattresses can leave traces, why didn't 5 children? In a shockingly premature decision, the coroner issued death certificates just 2 days after the fire, listing the cause of death as fire, or suffocation. The Sodders objected fiercely, but the case was closed. The Sodders' suspicion of arson and kidnapping only grew. George recalled a threat just months earlier from an insurance salesman he had insulted, who warned him, "Your goddamn house is going up in smoke and your children are going to be destroyed." The family also found a hard, rubber-like object in the yard near the foundation. It was a metal fuse attached to a rubber ball. George, a truck driver with experience in explosives, concluded it was a napalm pineapple bomb, an incendiary device. This strongly suggests the fire was set intentionally and was triggered from outside the house, perhaps thrown onto the roof. And what about that midnight phone call and the failure of the trucks? The call was a clear distraction. The tampering with the trucks and the missing ladder suggest a planned, multi-stage operation to prevent George from reaching his children. The Sodders theorized their children were never in the attic. They were abducted before the fire, likely by someone who knew the house and the family's routine. Convinced their children were alive, George and Jenny dedicated the rest of their lives and their entire fortune to finding them. They erected a massive billboard on Highway 16, pleading for information and posting photos of the 5 missing faces. Leads poured in over the decades. A woman claimed to have seen the children watching the fire from a passing car. A hotel owner miles away claimed the children stayed at his establishment for several days after the fire, accompanied by 2 men and 2 women of Italian descent. A waitress in a South Carolina diner claimed she served one of the boys breakfast the morning after the blaze. The most compelling and most tragic lead came in 1968. A letter arrived for Jenny, postmarked in Lexington, Kentucky. Inside was a photo of a young man, clearly in his mid-20s, with a handwritten note on the back, "Louis Sodder. I love brother Frankie, a lil boys, a 90132 or 35. The man in the photo bore an undeniable resemblance to the missing Louis Sodder. The family hired a private investigator to go to Lexington, but the man never returned. The Sodders were left with a haunting, tantalizing piece of evidence they couldn't pursue. George Sodder died in 1969 and Jenny in 1989. They died without ever knowing the fate of their missing children. But they never gave up hope, building a fence around the foundation of the house, refusing to let the mystery be forgotten. The disappearance of Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jenny, and Betty Sodder is not a story about a tragic accident. It is a story of a meticulous crime, possibly connected to George's outspoken political views against Mussolini and fascist Italy, a retaliation carried out under the veil of the American Christmas spirit. 79 years later, the truth is still shrouded in ash and secrets. 5 children vanish without a trace, and the chilling possibility remains that the 5 children whose faces haunted a West Virginia highway sign were out there, somewhere, living entirely different lives. We are left with the silence of a cold case and the question that still echoes from that Christmas Eve. Where are the Sodder children? If you have any information on the Sodder children disappearance, please contact local authorities. Like this video if you want more deep dive true crime investigations. Subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss our next case.